Good evening. Well, friends, America is headed towards a revolution or a revival. Which will it be? Well, that depends on what we do and how we do it. Welcome to Firebase. I'm your host, Gary French. I hope that those words perked your ears up just a little bit so that you'd want to tune in to listen to what this senior citizen has to say. And I really pray that what you hear from us on this program touches your heart in the right way. Before we started taping this and getting ready to present it to you, Jonathan and I took a moment to pray. I really believe in the power of prayer because I know the scripture says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face, God says, then I will hear from heaven and will heal their lands. Friends, there's two things that I know that our nation needs a touch from God. And you and I, as believers, we need to ask Him to touch our lives and our nation. Well, let's get right with some of the news reports that I've been keeping up with here just in the past couple of weeks. In case you haven't heard about it, in California, Dianne Feinstein, the 90-year-old senior citizen senator from the Golden State, passed away recently. After having been in Congress, in the Senate particularly, for decades, she just went to sleep one night and died in her sleep. Well, we all know from all the news reports she was very ill. It reminds me that you and I as Americans need to make sure that we encourage the Congress to bring term limits. Now, those people that are in office already, they are entrenched in office, and it seems like they've gotten just captivated by the lust of power and money. How is it possible that somebody who wants to really work for you and me would say, I'm working hard, they go into office and then they retire a millionaire? What a gig, huh? Well, Senator Feinstein passed away, and it's now up to Governor Gavin Newsom to appoint someone to fill into that spot until the next election, which will be in 2024. Gavin Newsom has this responsibility, according to their state constitution, to fill that needed position on an interim basis. I really like the way that it used to be in the United States, where each state Congress or House of Representatives or General Assembly, they would appoint the two senators. Now we make it a popularity contest where there are all of our Congress people, Senate and the representatives, seems to be running for office without end, always raising funds. Well, before Feinstein died, Governor Newsom had been asked about that, what kind of a person he would appoint. And he said it this way. Now, these are my words. I'm not going to pick the most qualified candidate. I'm not going to pick the person that'd be perfect for the job. I'm not going to even worry about picking somebody that would be ideal for California. I'm just going to go ahead and pick somebody that has a leftist, anti-American ideology, and I'm just going to and I'm going to go down the line here. It's going to be a female. He checked that block off. And he says it's going to be a black female. Check that block off. And then the other blocks that he checked off only because he's trying to garner political support and earn brownie points was that he selected a black female who is also an open lesbian who supports just crazy LGBT views and is pro-murder, by wanting to make sure that we continue murdering children in the womb of their mother. Well, friends, I need you to know this. People that know me know this very well. I'm not a racist. I am not a racist, and nor am I anti-female. Been married to a female, and it's not just a person that identifies as a female. She was born that way, and she has been the perfect wife for me. And we've been together for decades, and I am more in love with her now than ever before. So I'm not anti-female in that regard. But here's some things I need you to know about, and hopefully this will ring with you. I am not in favor of appointing any person to any political office becoming a political appointee without the people voting on this merely to satisfy a leftist socialist agenda. But folks, my friends, listen up. Pushing an agenda that is anti-American is exactly what the leftists are doing every day. And it seems to me like they're doing it with impunity. They just do it and nobody does anything. And if you happen to say anything about it, you are shouted down. If you are an American in the traditional sense of our founding fathers and Judeo-Christian values and ethics, if you believe the Bible, if you believe that marriage is for a man and a woman, if you believe that God assigns our sex and it's not according to how I feel on either certain day and saying that's my gender for the day, if you're of that mindset, what I call a common sense American, you are shouted down. You are silenced. You are pushed to be in a corner, and the left people will make you think that you are backwards. Friends, it seems to me that whether it's with freedom of religion to free speech or the freedom to assemble, to maintaining our Second Amendment rights to own to have gun ownership, it seems like those common sense, hundreds of years old values that our founding fathers have given us, those things the left wants to get rid of. And when I say that the left is pushing for an agenda, it's always their agenda. And if you and I, as common sense Christian conservative people, stand up against that, here's what the left will say: you guys are trying to destroy democracy. They totally forget that we are in a republic with democratic values. But friends, here's what so many people seem to be doing today. They only want what they think is best for the country. And a lot of times, from what I've seen, is that it's an anti-American agenda. That's what they're pushing. Well, going back to Governor Newsom, he has appointed a Democrat strategist. I don't like even calling the Democrat Party Democratic, because it's not very democratic. The Democrat strategist, LaFonza Butler, to fill Senator Feinstein's office. And here's part of the issue. Butler does not even live in California. On her most recent Facebook page and all the other documents that was there, which now have been just magically scrubbed and erased, this lady Butler resides in the Washington, D.C. area in Maryland. And yet, even though the Constitution of California says you must be a resident of the state for a certain period of time, her known residence has been on the other side of our great continent. She lives as far away from California as she possibly can, and yet Governor Gavin Newsom is still appointing this leftist ideologue who has anti-American, pro-death, anti-traditional marriage values, appointing her to be the senator, one of the two senators from California. No wonder so many people are vacating from California. It's like they can't pack the U-Haul up quickly enough to get out of there. Even the LA Times has written an article blasting Democrats for pledging to appoint black women to office merely to score political points. Now, that's not my view. That's not some right-wing conspiracy theorist. That's the Los Angeles Times newspaper had a big article that said that they're only doing this to try to score political points. And she is lesbian, pro-abortion, and anti-American. My friends, that leads me to this question right here as we get very quickly wrapping up the first segment. Are you getting tired of folks like I am who constantly complain? Now, it sounds like I may be complaining, but I'm not complaining right now. If I really complained, you would know it. You would know a vast difference. But I'm tired of hearing people complain against Christian values, against conservative values. But here's what the left always do. They complain that America is so racist. Talked to a man a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying, did you know that just because, and this is in rural Kentucky, this man said, well, yeah, just being a white guy means that he is racist. And I thought, where did he get that poison Kool-Aid from that he's been consuming to get him to think that way? And along the way, if just being white is racist, what does it say just about being Asian? What does it say about being redskin? Oops, we can't even say redskin anymore. Talk about fighting against sports teams. Well, what about the Marxist-loving folks who say that if we all just had a healthcare system like Cuba, we'd have healthier citizens? And it leads me to this before we wrap up this first segment. If America is so bad, why do so many people continually invade our borders to come across? It's like somebody's buying the first class airfare to get from whatever country their origin is to go to Mexico so they can just walk across the border. And they're here illegally, but it makes no difference. You and I still have to foot the bill. I remember a day when we learned about U.S. history, we learned about our founding fathers, we learned about civics, and we were taught that our nation is a great nation. Friends, there's so many things that are wrong with America, but there's a lot of things that are right with it. Stay tuned. We will be right back after this very short break. We'll talk about some subjects you will be talking about tomorrow. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Hope that short break didn't take you way too long from us, and I hope that you're still remembering the comments that I made in the opening segment. I read this recently, and it really came across me, and it gave me something to think about. A Democrat leader in Chicago is decrying the city's response to crime. Wow, do they have crime in Chicago? I thought everything was just rosy in the Windy City. Well, here's what this Democrat leader, and it was an alderman by the name of Raymond Lopez, he told American Reports on Tuesday that things like robbery, burglary, arson, assault, even threatening elected officials like myself do not warrant you being held on bond anymore in the state of Illinois, and criminals are taking note. Wait, what did he just say? Criminals are taking note that there's no cash bond anymore, and so they're acting any way that they want. Here's what's going on, and here's how that article started out that I caught my attention. Innocent people are being hunted like prey in Chicago. And friends, that's not from the right-wing talk show host or the talk radio people or even from voices like myself. That's coming from a Democrat city alderman in the city of Chicago. And he's saying basically, we are having thugs and criminals and violent drug people running the streets, seemingly without any kind of repercussion. The leftist Democrat mayor, the leftist district attorney, they're just hand-tying all of the police actions and just saying, you know what, let's just charge them if we can catch them and then just release them. And this alderman is saying, while violent crime is on the rise, what we are doing is absolutely nothing. We're allowing people to run the streets, and he says innocent people, law-abiding folks are being forced to lock themselves in their homes. And some of the things that I've been hearing and reading about, even those people who are locked up in their homes are not safe because the thugs and the crime gangs are just coming right on and storming into the people's houses. Lopez told a news report that voters, you think, are noticing that when they elect socialist or ultra-progressives, meaning Democrats, they wind up with tone-deaf leadership. And that leads me to another consideration. Why, knowing this, friends, why would you still continue to vote for Democrats? Because their platform is anti-America. Their platform is pro-death by killing children. Their platform is that it's against male and females getting married nowadays. And their platform just seems to be against the values that are those things that made our nation great. I know people are going to think that I'm just some right-wing lunatic, but if you know that this sort of politicians, when they get elected, take our nation down a path of destruction, Why in the world would you keep voting Democrats into office? Well, Lopez, in this news report, said this, and here's the quote about the people that are tone deaf and the leadership that gives there. He says, common sense requires us. Jonathan, I love that. Common sense. Common sense. Oh, I'm sorry. We're talking about leftist politicians, which seems to be an absence. There seems to be a big vacuum in their brain over common sense. Lopez says common sense requires us to start standing up and pushing back on the criminality in our neighborhoods, to start holding people and parents accountable, because oftentimes these are 12, 13, 14-year-olds who are engaging in this behavior, such as the armed carjacking that is so rampant in the city of Chicago. Friends, we're stunned. I'm almost at the point of being stunned to silence, but then I don't think you'd want to watch the rest of the program here the next 12 minutes or so, ever how long we've got, and just listen to nothing. I suppose you could. Lopez goes on and he says, it's unfortunate that what we saw today, where the Judiciary Committee came to Chicago, that not one single Democrat chose to participate and make their voices heard or to hear from those people impacted. He's commenting that Chicago is being overrun by gangs and thugs and criminals. And then we will have people that of the Democrat persuasion who will elect people to office and they say, defund the police. We don't need no stinking police. And then they appear shocked when crime comes knocking at their door. Well, let's go a little bit farther west from Chicago to San Francisco, because the San Francisco Bay boaters have been forced. Sounds like it was part of a Hollywood script. The boaters in San Francisco Bay who have boats there in the bay and they go out boating and yachting or whatever it is, they've been forced to fight off pirates who become, as the article says, seafaring bandits ravage the community. Residents who live on houseboats or have yachts in the San Francisco Bay Area have been forced to physically fighting for themselves and defending their property because of the pirates that are ransacking the ships. And it's just, it's incredible. And then they're wondering, well, what can we do? And then they'll say things, well, where's the police when we need them? And the answer to that is, you fired them all. Call 911 and ask that social worker to come over there to talk to the pirates that are ransacking your yacht. Well, you're a pirate. How do you feel about being a pirate? Well, let's process this. Is there another way? Friends, I think sometimes we just got to have a little bit more boldness. And we got to remember that our nation is a nation of laws, but it's founded on godly values and principles. People ask things, well, where are the bandits coming from in San Francisco? And the answer has been the homeless people. And who are most of the homeless people? The ones that are getting free drugs, the ones that's getting a monthly stipend from the government, the ones that are coming across the border illegally. And even though what few law enforcement are left there in San Francisco and Oakland and in the Bay Area are wanting to push back, they're saying it's time to draw a line. And part of the line is, they'll say, well, there's no roadways, there's no fences, there's no barriers that keep these illegals from coming in. My friends, here's what's happened. Those things happen when we defund the police and we say that we shouldn't have the police anymore. Unless you think that that's a problem that is peculiar and unique to the United States, what about the little old grandmother from the United Kingdom there in England who had a bicycle stolen from her, and she had to go find the guy who stole it because the police said, well, there's nothing that we can do, even though there is a video and photographs of the person who stole the bicycle from her. This grandmother decided, I'm going to make a sign. I'm going to get a lawn chair. I'm going to sit out in front of the guy's house and put a sign up and say, where's my bike, Dave? And all of a sudden, Dave, who seems to be the thief, other neighbors started coming out and said, yes, my bike's been stolen. And all of the neighborhoods suspected this guy as being the one who stole the bike. But now it wasn't until Granny came out and said, let's do something about it. And then finally the police finally responded to that. And here's one final thing that I want to share with you about that. And this happened out in Denver, Colorado. A Denver business owner protested against City Hall when he decided he and other business owners had had enough of the drug syringes, the human feces, the trash, the homeless camp and shelters that were there, being right in front of all of these businesses. This business owner went and gathered up all of the stuff that was there, and he went and he dumped it on the steps of City Hall. And here's how the news media reported it. The Denver business owner whose poop protest against City Hall went viral. Well, I guess you have to take matters into your own hands. Next time City Hall does something you don't like, take the poop to City Hall steps. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I am so pleased that you've spent the evening with us here. And I just got to say, it's a great joy to bring the interviews to you when we have in-studio guests, or we connect with Zoom, or like this evening, just bring you some of the news points that I've been reading of and catching up on. Here's one that captured my attention, and I want to use this to educate you, but then also use our last few minutes to encourage you and hopefully leave you in a better state of mind. The Florida Surgeon General gave an interview recently. He's talking about his personal concern over the current COVID-19 vaccine push. Now, I know that Pfizer and some of the others and the CDC are saying that everybody 6 months of age and older should be getting vaccinated. I've never taken a flu vaccine, and I definitely will not take a COVID-19 vaccine. But the Surgeon General from Florida was saying that it is anti-human, and the reason for his statement is that there's a major safety concern. He says the evidence that the CDC is referring to is talking about clinical trials, and then he says they were not even conducted, and yet the CDC is recommending that the COVID-19 vaccine is safe. One of the things of the many issues with the COVID-19 vaccine is that there is the rare risk of myocarditis, which is an inflammation of the heart muscle. And there are things that have happened like strokes and liver problems and just people getting sick who are otherwise healthy. Well, these are concerns that you need to be aware of, and you need to make up your own mind whether you're going to get vaccinated or not. And friends, I would encourage you before you do that to pray about whether you want to get vaccinated. As for me and my house, we're going to follow the Lord, and He's given us great hope and peace and comfort. Well, from the mailbox, let me share a couple of things with you that I've gotten some questions here recently, and would encourage you to write into us at the P.O. Box 39, Perry Park, Kentucky, that you see right there, 40363. And here's one of the questions for this week. Why does it seem that the world is becoming darker and darker, and that politicians only seem to fight and say they have the answers? Wow, a couple of great questions right there. And my first thought when I read that was this. When several years ago, my wife and I owned a coffee shop, and hence we have Firebase Coffee now, which helps support this television broadcast, this Christian news show. There would always be a group of old men that would be gathered there, and they would be talking about and belly aching about and just fussing about all of the problems and issues in the world today. And they would always want to ask me, and I could always tell when they were wanting to try to reel me in to be part of their conversation. They say, "Hey, preacher." And I knew they were going to try to ask a loaded question. And they said, "Here's what we're talking about. Why do you think this is all happening? Why do you think the world is in such a mess?" And I say, gentlemen, just drink your coffee. You really don't want to hear my response and my observation. And they say, yeah, we do. And they would say, we want to know what you think and why our country is in such a bad shape. And I would say, it's because it's your fault. And they would stop with their jaw just hanging open. What do you mean our fault? I said, are you a Christian? They said, yeah. I said, because if you're a Christian and you don't go to worship anymore, you don't read the Bible, you don't believe the Bible, and you're not sharing your faith, and you're not voting according to biblical values, you're part of the problem. Well, why does it seem that the world has become darker and darker? Well, because according to Matthew chapter 24, according to 2 Timothy chapter 3, these things will happen as we get closer to the return of Christ. And with all of these things happening, with crime on the rise, and with some of the issues that I've shared with you this evening, I want to leave you with this question. What can we do? Well, part of the things that we need to do is that we have to become culturally relevant. We have to be engaged with our culture. We have to be biblically sound or theologically sound, and we have to be politically astute. We need to pray, we need to vote, and we need to encourage biblical values. And above all else, we need to lift our eyes to the heavens from whence cometh our help. It comes from the Lord. That's it for Firebase tonight. Until next week, God bless. Thanks for watching this most recent episode. Click below the like button. Provide any comments that you like. Also, we will get back to you as soon as we can after you write to us at P.O. Box 39, Perry Park, Kentucky, 40363. Also, let us know if you like really good coffee, and we'll send that out to you as soon as we possibly can. What's the name of the coffee? Firebase.